Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go for a ride. So a few things I want to talk about. Really, as you can see, I have a little bit over 1,000 miles on this motorcycle. I've been enjoying this for a little bit over a month. Just bought it brand new 2022 Indian Scout Barber ABS. So the few things I want to talk about is, I want to give you an owner review. Like, what do I feel about this bike after 1,000 miles? And what's my experience so far? So if you're somebody who is looking to buy this bike, who is in the market looking at different options, hopefully this will help you with your decision. Or if you're just simply tuning in to watch the motovlog and hear about somebody else's perspective about this motorcycle, even if you own one, this is for you as well. So I'm gonna do the usual format of the pros and cons, and also why I actually got this bike. Let me start with why I actually selected this bike, and I'll give you some background about my riding, and also help you, if you were actually in the same position as me when I was buying this bike. I think that'll help you make the decision to buy or not to buy. So prior to this motorcycle, I had a Kawasaki Z900 RS. It's like a retro sport motorcycle. Pretty nice bike. I enjoyed the Kawasaki Z900 RS for a few years. It goes fast. It's more sportier than I would have liked later on. Once I sold that motorcycle, I wanted to get something a little bit more cruiser, a little bit more easy to ride around in town, but at the same time I could take it to the highways occasionally. So that's what really I was looking for, and I wanted a really good looking bike. So, and this particular bike, the Indian Scout Barber, fit the profile that I was looking for. I've been actually looking at this motorcycle for almost 2 years. When I say looking, I was just part of that Facebook group, just looking at the bike, reading about it, watching YouTube videos like we all do. And I finally pulled the trigger a month and a half ago. I literally walked into a dealer, and I was lucky. They actually had one in stock, and I wanted the black one, the black metallic. That's really what they had in stock. So it was like perfect. I bought the bike right there, and I took it for a test drive. Obviously, it's the first time I was riding this bike, and man, after the test ride, I was like, that's it. This is it. So it fit the profile of the bike that I was looking for. That's the reason I bought this bike. So now I have this bike from an owner's review point of view. What are the things I really like about it? And what are some of the positives that you will find owning this bike? The number one thing, I think this is pretty obvious. Number one thing is the looks. This bike looks amazing. It's a great looking bike. You park this motorcycle anywhere, you're gonna turn back and look at it, just making sure it's good, it's fine. The way it sits, it's very low to the ground. The bobber look, oh man, it's beautiful. It also look very like an American muscle bike. That's really what it is. So I like that. The looks definitely very, very important. That's one. The second kind of goes with the look a little bit. You know, it fit my profile, and I think this will help a lot of people decide this decision. Is, you know, it's not like your typical cruiser. It's not huge. It's a naked bike. It really rides very torquey. You know, this is it has plenty of torque, this motorcycle. It goes fast, pretty quick. It's not like your typical bagger type cruiser. So if you're looking for something, you know, right around town, nice and torquey, looks great, but doesn't really look like your grandpa's motorcycle, that was another reason to get this. So it fit that. The number 1 and 2 kind of goes together, I guess. So anyway, number 3. Number 3 is the engine. I really like this engine. It's a liquid V-twin engine. That's very important to note, that it is liquid cooled. We're going to be getting on a small highway, parkway, whatever you want to call it, right after this, so you guys can kind of see how it rides even on a highway, you know. So, and by the way, I have an aftermarket exhaust, which is the Bassani 3-inch, and I'll talk about the exhaust in a separate video. I'll give you a detailed review of the exhaust as well, and why I chose the Bassani and what I'm gonna do with it. So anyway, so the engine, it's 1133cc liquid cooled V-twin, puts out 100 foot-pounds of torque, and it rides very smooth. It's got plenty of torque, no problems in the torque department. You can feel the power of the engine. It sounds great. Unfortunately, the stock exhaust doesn't do much justice, so almost everybody who buys this bike, you know, gets an aftermarket exhaust, and there's plenty of choices. As I said, we'll talk about the exhaust in a different video. So the engine is great. I think you will love this engine. It's fun to ride. So it was like, I'm very satisfied after 1,000 miles with this engine, and especially after the first service that I did, the break-in service, and I also changed the air intake. So I have the Indian performance air intake that really changed this bike. It opened up the bike. So the engine is definitely number 3 on my list. Great, very positive things to say about it. And I also looked at long-term reviews and things of it. I haven't seen anyone complaining about the engine or any major issues, so I think that is great as well. Number 4, the way it rides. Okay, you hear a lot of complaints, a lot of discussions about, there's a cop on the other side, discussions about how this bike doesn't do, you know, how it cannot lean, his lean angle is not that great and all this kind of stuff. But listen guys, if you're riding this bike, listen, if you want to take it to the track, you can. But if you're riding this bike, I'm thinking you're probably not taking it to the track. You're doing a lot of local ride. So it rides really nice. And what I say that is it gives you a lot of confidence because this bike sits so low on the ground. If you're a shorter rider, this is so perfect. I'm not that tall, but I'm not that short. I'm kind of in the middle. So it gives you so much confidence. It is heavy enough. It's like 550 pounds. And it sits very low. The gravity, very low center of gravity. So it actually looks so planted. So I love the ride quality of this bike. So that one other thing I want to mention here is the way it rides. The way it goes through the corners. I have no problems at all. It's amazing. It goes really well. I know the lean angle is not what everybody wants, but trust me, you won't have any problems with it. I think you will love it. It just slides through it. And riding in town, amazing. Never had any issues riding this around in town. I'm almost, in highway, going pretty much highway speeds, no issues. Yeah, there is wind. Listen, that's gonna be there for every naked bike that is out there. There's nothing much you can do about it. You either enjoy it or you don't. If you don't, then get a wind fairing or whatever. So that's number 4. Yeah, those are really like the 4 top things I really like about this bike. So let's talk about some of the negatives, the things that I don't like about this bike. And trust me, there are a few things I don't like about this bike. But the question, about those negatives are those negatives fixable? Is there a solution to it or not? So the number 1 negative is the comfort. I said, the ride, the ride, it's really great to ride this bike, but the comfort. When I talk about comfort, I'm really talking about the seating position on this motorcycle. It's a bit odd. Okay, so your forward pegs, you have very low seat, and for an average person you sit like a C. It's like a C. That's how you sit on this bike, because most aftermarket seat is you sit pretty low, and your legs are kind of up, Sorry guys, I'm not speaking because I know it's a little bit the wind noise and the wind buffeting, I don't know if it's distracting. So anyway, so that's my number 1 negative, the comfort. So the comfort is also impacted by the horrible stock seat, the horrible rear shocks. But I have to say the rear shocks is horrible because that's the way Indian wanted this bike to look, very low to the ground from the back. So it's the rear shocks only have like 2-inch or less than 2-inch travel. So it's great for the looks, but the quality of the rear shocks is no good. So I did obviously change the seat. I changed the rear shocks. I also changed the front fork springs. Is my ride better? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the comfort that I'm talking about is not there when you get it right off the dealer. But once you do spend some money, make some modifications, the comfort level increases. So that's the positive. That's really the positive. It's almost fixable, you know. And plus the riding position, to be honest with you, you can change the riding position a little bit by using a different handlebar. So you will see like Indian have like a new version of this Rogue that has a little bit upright handlebar. So if you use a different handlebar, your riding position will change, and I think it'll be more comfortable for a lot of people. But I didn't want to go that route because it compromises the look. You know, I don't like the high handlebar look. I like the way it looks from, you know, from the factory on the handlebar, so I don't want to change it. So that's number one. Number two, these are like the number two negative. Second number is really some few minor items. The headlight, the stock headlight is halogen. Yes, you can fix it. The stock seat is garbage. You have to change it. The stock rear shocks is no good. You have to change it. So if you're gonna get a new motorcycle, new Indian Scout Bobber, just factor the price of that into your cost, okay? And also most folks are gonna change out the exhaust. So that's really my positives and negatives on this motorcycle, guys. So what do I feel about it after 1,000 mile? I really like it. I like it. I have no regrets. Would I buy it again? Absolutely, I'll buy it again. So I have no negatives, nothing that would change my mind after owning it for 1,000 miles. I'm very content and happy with it. I plan to keep this for a long time. You know, you probably is wondering, yeah, it's too early for you to say all that. Yeah, you're probably right. You know, I had a few motorcycles before, but I'm just telling you what I feel about it right now. It's a great motorcycle, guys. It is probably close to perfect in its category. It would have been perfect out the factory if they had fixed some of those problems that I just mentioned. One other negative I probably should mention is Indian does have limited aftermarket supplier parts availability, so you're not going to be able to find the aftermarket parts as easily as a Harley. And plus these parts are expensive just because of that supply demand. If you want to buy a new Indian Scout Bobber, it takes I think 3 months to get it. Again, supply and demand. But the good thing about all that is the resale value of this motorcycle holds. So I've seen, you know, Indian Scout Bobber for sale on Facebook and everything else. The resale value is pretty good. Compared to my experience, the Kawasaki Z900 RS, which really did not hold the resale value at all. So those are some of the positives. I mean, those are some of the positives out of, you know, the supply chain issue and the limited availability of the parts, and also the motorcycle. So that's really my take. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would like you to subscribe, like this video, share it, and be part of the community. You know, it's really, I'm doing this to share my experience, to help others, and it'll be my candid thoughts good or bad. That's how I'm going to share it. I'm going to talk about the exhaust. I'm going to talk about the modifications I did in a separate video. And some of the decision making that goes into when you buy these aftermarket parts and everything else. So I'll talk about that and share my experience. So hit that subscribe, like button. Thank you again. Ride safe out there. I wish you guys all the best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.